The marketplace on Zorath 4 was a chaotic symphony of alien voices, clinking credits, and the faint hum of anti-gravity carts zipping through the air. Humans were still relatively new to the galactic scene, and I, a lowly xeno-anthropologist named Dr. Elena Carter, was just trying to blend in. My mission was simple: study the cultural artifacts of the Zorathians and avoid any trouble. But trouble, as it turns out, has a way of finding you. I was browsing a stall filled with shimmering trinkets when I saw it. A bracelet. It was unlike anything I'd ever seen. The band was made of a silvery metal that seemed to shift and flow like liquid, and embedded in its center was a gem that pulsed faintly, as if alive. The Zorathian vendor, a wizened old creature with too many eyes and not enough teeth, noticed my interest. "Ah, human," it croaked, its voice like gravel underfoot. "You have good eye. This is Krythalis Band. Very rare. Very powerful. What does it do?" I asked, already reaching for my scanner. The gem's pulse quickened as I got closer, and I felt an odd pull, like it was calling to me. The vendor leaned in, its breath smelling faintly of sulfur. "It binds souls. Two beings, one destiny. Forever." Chuckled. "Sounds like a fairy tale. How much?" The vendor named a price that was suspiciously low. I hesitated, but the bracelet's pull was irresistible. Before I could think better of it, I slipped it onto my wrist. The moment it clicked into place, the world exploded. A blinding light engulfed me, and I felt a searing heat race up my arm. My vision blurred, and I stumbled back, clutching my wrist. The gem was glowing brighter now, its pulse synchronized with my heartbeat. I tried to pull the bracelet off, but it wouldn't budge. "What the hell did you do to me?" I shouted at the vendor, but it was gone, the stall empty as if it had never existed. Before I could panic further, a voice echoed in my mind, deep, resonant, and distinctly not mine. "Who are you?" Froze. "Who's there?" "I am Kael," the voice replied. "And you have just bound your soul to mine." Kael, as it turned out, was a Vrynn, a species known for their warrior culture and, apparently, their soul-binding rituals. The bracelet was a Krythalis Band, a sacred artifact used to create an unbreakable bond between two individuals. It was supposed to be a voluntary act, a symbol of trust and unity. But I just put it on like it was a cheap souvenir. "You're telling me we're stuck like this forever?" I asked, pacing my quarters aboard the research vessel Stellar Horizon. "Yes," Kael replied, his voice calm but with an edge of irritation. "The bond cannot be broken. Our souls are now intertwined." "Great. Just great. Do you have any idea how much paperwork this is going to cause?" Kael didn't respond, but I could feel his amusement. It was strange, having someone else's emotions mingling with my own. I could sense his frustration, his curiosity, and something else, a deep, aching loneliness. Over the next few days I learned more about Kael. He was a warrior, exiled from his clan for a crime he refused to speak of. The Krythalis Band had been his last hope, a way to find a new purpose. Instead he'd gotten me, a human scientist who couldn't even fire a blaster without hitting the wrong target. But as much as I complained, I couldn't deny that the bond had its perks. Kael's knowledge of the galaxy was vast, and his instincts were razor-sharp. When a group of pirates attacked the Stellar Horizon, it was Kael who guided my hands, helping me take down the intruders with a precision I didn't know I was capable of. "Not bad for a human," he said afterward, and I could feel his grudging respect. "Not bad for a Vrynn," I shot back, grinning. As the weeks turned into months, the bond deepened. I could feel Kael's presence in my mind, a constant, comforting weight. We learned to communicate without words, our thoughts flowing together like two rivers merging into one. But the bond also brought challenges. Kael's past was a shadow that loomed over us, and his exile weighed heavily on him. I could feel his guilt, his shame, and his longing for redemption. "You don't have to carry this alone," I told him one night, staring out at the stars. "Whatever happened, we'll face it together." "You don't understand," he said, his voice heavy with regret. "My actions cost lives. I don't deserve your kindness." "Maybe not," I admitted. "But you've got it anyway. That's what this bond is about, isn't it? Trust, unity, even when it's hard." Kael was silent for a long time, but I could feel the walls around his heart beginning to crack. Our journey took us to the edge of Vrynn space, where Kael's past finally caught up with us. His former clan, led by a ruthless warlord named Draxus, had tracked us down. They wanted Kael dead, and they didn't care who stood in their way. "You should leave," Kael said as the enemy ships closed in. "This is my fight." "Like hell it is," I replied, gripping the controls of the stellar horizon. "We're in this together, remember?" The battle was fierce. Kael's combat skills and my quick thinking made us a formidable team, but we were outnumbered. Just when it seemed like all was lost, Kael did something unexpected. "Elena," he said, his voice steady. "I need you to trust me." Before I could respond, I felt a surge of energy as Kael channeled his life force through the bond. The Krythalis Band glowed brighter than ever, and a wave of power erupted from the ship, disabling the enemy vessels in one blinding flash. But the cost was high. Kael's presence in my mind grew faint, his strength fading. "Kael!" I shouted, clutching the bracelet. "Don't you dare leave me." "I'm sorry," he whispered. But this was the only way. The aftermath was a blur. The stellar horizon limped back to friendly space, and I was hailed as a hero. But none of it mattered without Kael. For weeks, I wore the bracelet, hoping against hope that he would return. And then one day I felt it, a faint pulse like a heartbeat. "Elena!" Tears streamed down my face as I realized he was alive. The bond had saved him, just as it had saved me. "You idiot," I said, laughing through my tears. "Don't ever do that again." "I'll try not to," he replied, his voice warm with affection. "But you're stuck with me, remember?" "Yeah," I said, smiling. "Forever." And so we continued our journey, two souls bound together by fate, trust, and a little bit of human recklessness. The galaxy was vast and full of dangers, but as long as we had each other, I knew we could face anything. After all, we were soulbound, and that was more than enough.